level up your gaming experience with over 8 billion playlists, only on Spotify, the official audio streaming partner for the 2025 Esports World Cup.
Music playing on the radio, driving slow. Smooth sailing, wheels turning, where do we go? I feel like I'm never coming home. Never coming back. I feel like living and letting go. And let it go.
Hold. Short. Tunnel. Connector. Catwalk?
Hey. Give me that. What you guys doing on my stage?
We're getting ready for Crossfire here at EWC, and it's time for day number 1.
We've been waiting a long time for this moment, and it is finally here. It's Crossfire at EWC 2025. Crossfire, it's exciting. A lot of fans out there. Of course, they're going to be watching the best of the best play on the Boulevard here in the S&B Arena. It's going to be an electrifying 5 days, and it's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to be joined by each and every one of us throughout each of those days. I'm your host, Taylor Reflections Noble, joined by the wonderful crew. We've got Neo, we've got Sneaky coming into the mix from Crossfire, and probably familiar faces you all know and love. Neo, how's everything going, man? We're here.
Oh, man, what an exciting time, right? This is such a big event, and for Crossfire as a game that continues to grow year on year, what a time. First kind of debut year at EWC as well. I'm so excited for what this can bring.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sneaky, great to see you, man. Loving the pants, by the way. The style, you got me outmatched, and that's hard to do at times.
Yeah, I had to go gray this time because, me and my other shoes are unfortunately unavailable. So we did decide to go with this outfit. But, man, I cannot wait for this one to start. As someone who's been a fan of Crossfire for multiple years now, this has probably been the most prestigious event that we have had in terms of, the scale and everything. So I'm just so excited to start, man.
Yeah, and excited to hear what this event means in terms of Crossfire in general. We, of course, have our Jamil Motorsport player arrivals. They stepped out into the Saudi heat, and they said, well, it's a bit hot out here, but it's going to be hotter out there on the battlefield, of course, talking about when they're competing. And, of course, we have some very notable players that start to walk in. And tell me, man, Saudi, you've actually been here at least once, but the heat, man, it hit you.
Yeah, last time I came, it was in November, and it was still pretty hot. But, I mean, we're talking like 35 degrees being the peak. Now we've got, I think yesterday, 45 is what we got. So pretty hot. But thankfully, I will say it's dry heat compared to the UK's humid heat.
Sure.
So honestly, this feels more manageable.
Yeah, more manageable. Well, hey, I think we were talking about it, I believe, for China, right? First time being on this big international stage, at least at this point in time. So hopefully they're going to be well adjusted to whenever it comes to the heat. Crossfire, it's brand new to the EWC scene. We're happy that it's here. But for you out there, maybe you don't know exactly what Crossfire is. Well, let's get you caught up to speed with what the game is all about.
This isn't just another FPS. One bullet can shift the tide. One player can dominate the battlefield. Now, Crossfire takes its global esports stage to the next level at EWC. Crossfire is a team-based military FPS played by over 1 billion users across more than 80 countries. Two teams take turns attacking and defending, pushing each other's strategies to the limit. Blacklist plays offense. Win by either eliminating the enemy or by planting the C4 at site A or B and letting it detonate. Global Risk plays defense. Win either by eliminating the enemy before the C4 is planted or by defusing it in time. Each round is worth 1 point. The first team to reach 10 points wins. After 9 rounds, the sides switch. Offense becomes defense and the strategies change. But if the score hits 9-9, overtime begins. 3 more rounds. First to reach 13 points. No second chances. In Crossfire, a single round can change everything. A perfect flash, a split-second peek, a 1 versus 3 clutch. This isn't just about aim. It's a battle of nerves, mental strength, and surgical precision. Crossfire Esports spans the globe. China's living legend In9 from Baisha Gaming, deadly sniper Gokun from Team Liquid, Vietnam's calm killer Shady from Team Falcon, the West's clutch king Snare from ROC Esports, and the Philippines' rising star Yobib from EVOS Esports. Now, the strongest teams and players from each region clash at EWC. Pride, skill, honor, all on the line. First time watching Crossfire? No problem. One match is all it takes. Where fans roar, players rise, and legends are born. EWC Crossfire. Your first watch could make another history.
There it is, Crossfire. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I hope you enjoy the action. And speaking of action, Crossfire, it's been around for quite some time. I think coming out in 2008, tournament started in 2009. It's got a lot of history. But speaking in regards to that history, now EWC enters the scene. What does that mean for Crossfire?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about Crossfire, which we have domestic leagues for all the regions, but we've always had 2 major events every year. And EWC now kind of takes the place of what was the Summer Championships last year in Vietnam. But this is a whole nother ball game. The kind of the way it used to be is the grand finals end of the year. That was the big event, more teams, bigger prize pool. Now we're talking about EWC, where it's a bigger prize pool, but also a big international event. And Summer Champs is no longer seen as sort of a secondary event to the grand finals itself. It's arguably even bigger.
Yeah, for sure. It is very prestigious, right? I mean, you have a $2 million prize pool, similar to what we saw from the years prior. And it's the fact that it's the mid-year tournament. We've had such a huge upgrade. There's so much prestige now, and there's so much on the line. And not just that, who doesn't want to be the first team to win the first Crossfire EWC, right?
There's only one opportunity to do that, all right? There's only one chance to do that, all right? There's only one chance to be the first winner at EWC for your many various different games, maybe games you don't know about. Now you get to discover them here live, watching the best of the best compete.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is kind of the beauty of tournaments like this. It's the culmination of esports as a whole. You know, we're so used to having our own individual events and our own specific esports. Now getting them all together simultaneously across a 7-week period. It's a beautiful time for esports as a whole, which keeps growing year on year.
Yeah, and for you, Sneaky, right? First time, I believe, in Saudi Arabia, at least whenever it comes to, for sure, right? And maybe one of the biggest events you've actually been a part of, at least at this scale. I mean, it's hard to beat EWC.
It's really hard to beat EWC. I mean, in terms of the scale, I mean, 20 plus games, plus, you know, the trophy lifting, and plus the history, every single thing. I mean, the wall with the keys. I mean, history will be made in this tournament, and I'm so glad to be part of it. Despite being my first time, I'm having quite a great time.
Yeah, it's fun. And have you boys had a chance to go to the Boulevard yet and actually explore it?
He did.
Not this time,
This
but last
is the Esports World Cup Club Championship, the ultimate cross-game competition that will crown the best esports club in the world. Let's break down how it works. Clubs will be able to compete at the Esports World Cup in as many titles as they can qualify for. The clubs will then earn points based on their placement in each title. To qualify for the club championship, a club will need a top 8 placement in at least 2 competitions. But to win the championship, a club must place first in at least 1 competition. At the end of the Esports World Cup, the 24 clubs with the highest number of points will earn a share of the $27 million, with the winner taking home a staggering $7 million. And of course, the title of the best esports club in the world. Who will rise above and write their place in history? Watch it all here at the Esports World Cup.
Club championship race has been intense. We're talking 7 weeks, 25 different titles, 3 to 4 finals each and every weekend. $7 million for first, and this is how you get there, by earning those club championship points. 1,000 going to the winner, and it goes down from there. Just securing a top 8 finish is so impactful, so you can take advantage of the club championship points that you've earned as an org throughout your runs in various different titles. Of course, Team Falcons, the winners from last year, this time around, they've got competition.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously Liquid not too far behind, and the fact that also Liquid very competitive in Crossfire 2, same for Falcons, makes things very, very interesting. And then you've got actually a really interesting kind of middle of the pack. AGAL can make a decent run in this sort of game. Times could be quite interesting. There could be a real shakeup in this first page.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's going to be very competitive between Liquid and Falcons, to be specific, because Falcons has something to prove. Liquid definitely has something to prove as well. They want that trophy. Falcons obviously wanting to regain that glory that they had in Vietnam and also here in Saudi. So going to be looking forward to that.
And even for the teams who may be on the second or even third page, a chance to come back is possible. Of course, only 3 more games remain for Na'Vi. They've got a chance to potentially earn up to 1,000, put them at 1,900, elevating themselves up to the second page. I mean, boys, we're talking literally just going from third page to second page is potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars.
It makes such a big difference, right? You've placed well in one of these kind of last tournaments, and it could make a whole world of a difference for just overall how healthy the org looks, right? So I think you're spot on. Na'Vi, I mean, even Gaming Gladiator also in Crossfire 2. Who knows what can happen?
Yeah, dude. $7 million for first. It blows me away. The fact is $27 million on the line. And, Sneaky, the beautiful thing about that is $7 million goes a long way when you're trying to expand your org.
Yeah, for sure. And, a fun fact, the team right ahead of Na'Vi, GK Esports, I mean, Na'Vi's the reason why they're not here in the first place. So might be a takeover happening, a few 20, maybe even $100,000 on the line. But man, the prizes are insane.
Yeah, the prizes are incredible, not only from game to game, but also for that club championship race, which is tied at the top. Top 3 might as well be tied at this point, right? Especially given the fact that they all 3 are competing in Crossfire, making this tournament that much more impactful. But whenever it comes down to it, though, the players are also playing to protect their keys, right? The keys, they don't want them to get crushed. That's a big thing, and they don't want their competitors using their keys for their own benefit. If you don't know what I'm talking about, let's get you caught up to speed.
No competition is as ruthless as the Esports World Cup. Its trophy system is no exception. The Club Championship Trophy, awarded to the one club that rose above the rest and reigned supreme across all EWC games. The Game Trophy, when a competitor closes their eyes, it's all they see. And it's not complete until it's sealed with a champion's key. Every participant earns a key engraved with their name. That's their right to compete. This year, returning champions hold a key unlike any other. Only one can place their key into the Game Trophy and become an EWC champion. The frame of the champion's key is embedded into the totem, a stone marker of legacy displaying every champion of the year. The keys of the eliminated will be crushed. The champions select 3 broken keys as a personal token, a reminder of who they have humbled. Beneath the totem, a resin block holds the remaining keys, a graveyard of fallen contenders. Will your dreams be broken or your name carved in gold and stone? At EWC, nothing is granted, everything is earned.
Keeping those keys intact is important, and for good reason. We also have our prize pool, $2 million. $750,000 up for grabs for first. The drop off from first to second is pretty crazy, to say the least. So getting first place is picked up at $2 million. What does that mean for Crossfire?
I mean, it's a huge thing. We're talking about not only where for organizations that means improvements at boot camp facilities, but also we're talking about roster moves, right? You get that kind of injection of money, upgrades on the team if even needed, and especially with how competitive the top end of Crossfire is. even just one player move could be the difference. One good finish here could be enough funds to secure exactly that. So this tournament makes a really big difference, not only just for here, but for the next couple of years of Crossfire.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, having that much resource as a team, especially if you are a team from Vietnam and from the Philippines, that's going to be a big injection for you. You could, buy better PCs, buy better facilities, maybe, get more coaches, more analysts in order to make the team a whole lot better. But you do have a point with the player acquisitions, because Baisha already did that early last year, right? With YDSS, bought them out. Now they're the best team. So a bit of cash wouldn't be too bad, man.
That's right. $750,000 can go a long way. I know I would personally want that, but I just can't play as good as those guys. Hey, check it out. It's going to be a long run, though, to be a champion. We're talking multiple days of competition, and it's going to be grueling, but the competitors must go through it if they want a chance to become champion. Let's get you caught up to speed with our format.
For the first time ever, CROSSFIRE steps onto the global stage at the Esports World Cup in Riyadh. 16 of the world's best teams have qualified for this historic showdown. From August 19th to the 23rd, 80 players will clash for pride, for glory, and a share of the $2 million prize pool. The battleground begins with the group stage, starting August 19th. 4 groups, 4 teams in each, and each group plays in a GSL-style double elimination format, with every match being a best of 3. There's no room for error. Only the top 2 from each group will survive and advance. The 8 survivors will march into the playoffs, beginning August 22nd. A single elimination bracket awaits, where every match is do or die. The quarterfinals and semifinals remain a tense best of 3. But for the ultimate prize, the stakes are raised. The grand final on August 23rd will be an epic best of 5 clash to crown the first ever CROSSFIRE Esports World Cup champion. A final battle for bronze will also decide the 3rd team to make the podium. This is CROSSFIRE's biggest international moment, and this is its debut at the Esports World Cup. Who will rise? Who will fall? And who will make history? One game, one world, one champion. Let the battle begin.
We start in group stage. We have 4 groups of 4 teams, Group A, B, C, and D. Best of 3 all the way through. For those who end up winning throughout the winner's bracket, they only have 2 games. For those, though, who end up losing early on, they'll have to, of course, travel the long road. 3 more games for them. We do have playoffs. That'll be our top 8 teams, single elimination, which is going to be pretty wild. You want to talk about pressure. Best of 3s into our grand finals, which will be best of 5. If you forget any of that, that's okay. We'll be updating you each and every day. It's going to be a long tournament. And man, regional battles, right? That's what CROSSFIRE is all about, it on the global stage. And we've got so many different teams coming into the mix. And even for today, right, we've got a total of 4 games taking place. We also will have our B stream, but at least for stream A, we'll be starting off at the top. And then for our B stream, well, you can also catch these wonderful teams competing throughout the day, which is pretty cool, man. I mean, 2 streams taking place. A lot of games don't even get that. So the fact that we have 2 dedicated streams for all your teams, well, Neo, nobody's going to be missed out.
No, exactly. I mean, this is kind of the beautiful thing. First and foremost about the format, right? Just having that second chance, it goes a long, long way. But also the fact that 2 simultaneous streams, while games are going on, there could be real shakeups in the group. If upsets come through as well, it could have big ramifications for the game happening in the stream. So it's kind of the best thing about this. It really does spice up how this tournament plays out.
And talking about the tournament in general, again, going back to that regional discussion, you have so many regions who compete on the online stages, now meet each other on the global stages. What regions would you say is probably the best? I mean, obviously China definitely gets up there, but you do have some local favoritism.
Yeah, I do have some local favoritism, of course, with the Filipino team.
Bias,
bias is what some people call it. But if I would go with my analyst brain with this question, I would say second best region, no brainer, is Brazil.
Agreed.
Like Brazil, probably the closest region to actually beating China. We already saw that in CFS 2024, where Vasco, now Alcadzia, almost beat Evolution Power in a 5-game series. So I think Brazil really has a realistic shot in it. It's not just Alcad. Liquid might have a shot too.
Team Liquid, Alcadzia. It's going to be 2 great teams. Let's take a look, actually, at all the rosters competing. We've got several coming into the mix, coming into the fold. And again, for multiple rosters, they're competing for the club championship trophy. Naturally, you look right in the middle. Team Falcons right next to Team Liquid, who are embroiled in this battle for the #1 spot for that $7 million prize. They're going to be competing, but don't forget Na'Vi also in the mix, along with Twisted Minds, Virtus Pro, Rock Esports, right? So many orgs going for that club championship trophy, AGAL. Let's take a look at Group A, though. Group A is where we're going to be starting the day, of course, with Alcatia versus King Zero Esports. It's going to be pretty fun. Now, when we look at this group, obviously we'll be focused in on the top. But what about Twisted Minds Gaming Gladiators? How do we think that could possibly go?
I mean, it's a really interesting time. I think Twisted Minds have got to come in as the favorites for that one. And this is a pretty important tournament for them, even in just terms of the club rankings, right? They could really skyrocket with a decent run, make towards playoffs, and who knows? I think they have a decent chance there themselves.
And Group B, man, coming into the fold, again, 4 wonderful teams. Now, mind you, throughout these groups, only 2 teams will advance to playoffs. We'll be losing half of these groups once group play ends up concluding. But as we take a look here, I noticed Team Liquid up there. How do we think they're going to fare?
Yeah, I mean, Team Liquid up against one of my boys, which is EWC Esports, unfortunately. But I think EVOS might surprise Team Liquid, and that's not just a bias talking. Yeah, I feel like they had something to prove ever since they got dropped in the first round in ACL.
But here's Group C, and from what I'm hearing, rumblings of Group C might be a bit deadly.
This is the group of death, without a doubt. You've got Team Falcons, who are the reigning summer champs. You've got Evolution Power, who are the reigning major champs. And you've got Baisha, the best team in the world. All 3 of these could win the event, and no one would bat an eyelid. So this is a crazy group. The fact that we have to say goodbye to one of these teams in the group stages is insane. And man, I've got to feel so bad for Inner Circle.
Oh, Inner Circle, they're going to probably go through the blender. But hey, when it comes to EWC 2025, I will say upsets have been happening. Inner Circle could be one of those upsets. We take a look at our final group, Group D, AGAL, also in the mix there, but against Virtus Pro.
I think AGAL definitely, if we had just had the group of death, ironically, Group D is the group of life. I mean,
Agreed.
AGAL definitely is a team that can just sweep aside Virtus Pro. Right now, in my opinion, I think AGAL is only focused on beating Baisha. Yeah, so they're really just trying to tear through this group and get out of this as fast as possible. But the one thing you want to focus on in Group D is Team Stallions.
Let's talk about them. Yeah, they're
Team
going against
Stallions,
Na'Vi.
baby. I mean, going up against Na'Vi, I mean, Brazil got into the semifinals in ACL. They beat King Zero, who was the first seed at that time, actually took EP to 3 games. So Stallions probably, in terms of international play, despite being the 2nd seed from the Philippines, they have been more impressive in terms of international play.
Well, talking about impressive, let's talk about our impressive teams we expect to make an impact with our Aramco Power rankings. We'll start off, of course, with our favorites that we think could go all the way.
Yeah, I mean, either of these 4 could win the event, and like I said, no one would really be too surprised. You got EP, of course, reigning champs from December in the grand finals. You got Baisha, best team in the world. You've got AG, 2nd best team in the world, and you got Alcatia, the best team in Brazil, and probably the biggest hopefuls as well. They've been trying to prove that they can stay at the level of the Chinese teams, and they're getting mighty close. Every single major event that we have, they get closer and closer, and it feels like this could actually be the tournament in which they finally prove that we are actually on the same level.
For sure. I mean, AG has been chasing Baisha Gaming for quite a while now. I mean, ever since last year, I think ever since they won 2023, they've just been chasing Baisha Gaming this entire time. And with the form that Baisha is having, no one is even holding a candle to them. But we do have the dark horses too.
Yeah, dark horses look fun. Obviously, Team Liquid, Falcons have to be thrown into the mix. But Rock, I was watching them throughout the qualifiers, had a bit of a stumble, but I do believe the boys from Rock can make a bit of an impact.
Yeah, and sort of our justification for dark horses is teams that actually can make a good playoff run, right? The sides that we would hope would actually be able to make deep runs. We're talking like top 4 kind of vibes. The only issue is when you look at Falcons, it's just because they're in that group of death, it's actually, can they make it out of the group? With EP and then Baisha being in our favorites, it puts them in that top spot. But if they can pull off a quote-unquote upset and make it out, they can make a run.
Well, I loved how you guys framed this, because you were the ones who picked the names, I believe. You got big underdogs, Twisted Minds being up there, Virtus Pro. But who do you truly feel, Sneaky, who can potentially make it out as one of those big underdog stories?
Honestly, if KZ can really get it together as a team, I think they can make a run in this tournament, because KZ, for the longest time, they've just been struggling with their system. Granted, they have a new IGL now with How being gone. If they can figure it out with the amount of talent that they have on their roster, I think they can make a run.
Well, Crossfire, it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're about to get it started. Let's go ahead and go to our stage to start day 1 of Crossfire EWC 2025. In a world where every millisecond determines a victory, where every bullet decides a legacy, welcome to Crossfire here at the Esports World Cup. Great to have you here with us. My name is Adam Savage, and this natural wonder is the almighty Sandstorm.
Ladies and gentlemen, the final week is upon us. The hunt for the last champion of the SNB Esports Arena begins today. With another first, Crossfire's debut at the Esports World Cup, and the hunt and the search for the inaugural Crossfire champion at the Esports World Cup begins today. And not only do we crown the Crossfire champion at the end of this week, we also crown the 2025 Esports World Cup Club champion. So I think it's time we introduce the teams. I don't think I can wait any longer. I want to get the show on the road. I want to start this tournament.
So do I, and I know you guys at home do as well. First up, we have Baisha Gaming. Ruthless and relentless. China's Baisha Gaming charges into EWC Crossfire as ACL champions with fearless aggression and a promise: we never back down. They've come to EWC not just to compete, but to conquer. The battle begins for them now.
Up next, it's EVOS Esports. Once known as Akrilla Esports, now carrying the banner of EVOS, they have ruled the Philippines with an iron fist. Champions of the Crossfire Masters in Philippines, their rise from local LAN halls to the global stage is the stuff of dreams. From underdogs to kings of their region, this is EVOS Esports.
Next up, Team Stallions. Straight from the Philippines, the pride of Cebu enter the Esports World Cup like a lightning storm. High energy, wildly unorthodox, and impossible to predict. They're here to shock the system and redefine what winning looks like. Can they go all the way here at EWC?
Up next on the stage, it's Virtus Pro. Born in Vietnam, reborn under a legendary name, they fought their way through the Vietnam League with grit and fire. A third-place finish was enough to launch them onto the world stage, and now they arrive ready to prove their new identity to the world. This is Virtus Pro.
It's time to welcome Al Qadsia. Hard work, smart plays, full send. From Brazil to the EWC stage, they play with brains, they train with grit, and they charge head on. If there's a fight, rest assured, they will never, ever back down.
One of the pillars of the esports community around the world. Welcome, Navi! The Brazilian roster stepping into the unknown for the very first time. They wear their colors at an international event. Their third place finish in the Brazilian League was enough to earn them this one shot. And they come hungry to prove that their debut will not be forgotten.
Oh yes, next, it's Team Liquid. An unbreakable chemistry, rock-solid defense, and a mindset built on playing the map, not just the fight. Every move they make has purpose. Liquid holds the line. But will they rise to glory here at EWC? We'll find out.
Speaking of rock solid, here comes Rock Esports. The pride of Egypt, the first local champions and the undisputed kings of the Western League. With back-to-back titles at home, now they step into the world spotlight. From Cairo to Riyadh, this is Rock Esports.
Next up, we have Gaming Gladiators, a team from the EU MENA region that charges into EWC like a pack of wild wolves. Chaotic, aggressive, and hungry for the hunt. Unleashed, they're unpredictable and have the potential to be unstoppable. The Gladiators are primed and they are ready to contend.
Here comes Inner Circle Esports. A European mix built on firepower and fearless aggression. From 4 nations, they now come together to fight under one banner at the Esports World Cup. Unpredictable, explosive, and impossible to contain. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Inner Circle Esports.
Here we go. Let's welcome in Q9. Like a panther stalking its prey, they move silently in the shadows. Patient, fearless, and ready to pounce at the perfect moment. Masters of stealth, kings of the strike. Can their roster of new and veteran players pull off a true underdog story here at the Esports World Cup?
One of the hometown organizations, it's Twisted Minds. A full Vietnamese roster with fire in their hearts. Twice they came close, and twice they finished runners-up in their league. They fell just short of the crowd, but consistency earned them this chance. Their very first international test, hungry and unrelenting.
Next, Evolution Power Gaming. Flexibility, a deadly dual sniper team. They enter the arena fighting to prove that true strength comes from unity and constant evolution. The goal is clear, just to pass their limits and claim their place at the top of the world's CROSSFIRE Elite.
One of the dark horses of China, it's King Zero Esports. Capable of felling giants, their legendary lower bracket run proved they could take down Baisha, Evolution Powers, even AG. Now, with the little experience that they have, but endless ambition, they arrive on the world stage as the ultimate wildcard. This is King Zero Esports.
And next, AGAL come our way. From China's rich legacy of esports, this team steps into the arena built on bold tactics, unwavering dreams, and the hunger to turn heritage into glory. The 1-2 combo of precision and tactical mastery. Will it be their moment to make history here at EWC?
And finally, the reigning club champions of the Esports World Cup, it's Team Falcons. Vietnam's finest, champions of summer, and one of the most beloved teams in the scene. They proved they can conquer the very best. Charismatic, fearless, and dangerous. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Team Falcons, and they are on the hunt for a win. 16 teams have joined us on this stage, Adam, but only one can rise above.
That's right. You can see the trophy right here. Who will insert that key and walk away as EWC CROSSFIRE champions?
We're going to find out very soon because game one is imminent. Let's head back to the desk and get ready to roll.
All right. Thank you so much, Sandstorm. Adam Savage rocking the stage. The players are getting set. Our first matchup is about to be underway for Group A. It's going to be Alcatia versus King Zero Esports. Brazil versus China. Who is going to take the win? A monstrous matchup, I think, more so for King Zero Esports. Can they pull the hat trick and maybe upset the worlds of Brazil by taking down the fan favorites, or at least the fan favorites when it comes to Brazil? Let's talk Alcatia, right? The most prominent team from Brazil, Brazilian pride. I mean, regional, right? When we talk about the regional fave to win for themselves in their region for EWC. Who is Alcatia? Why are they such a tremendous team and potentially a favorite?
I feel like for me, Alcatia are a side that have really been trying to stray away from the standard Brazilian meta. Tempo changes have become a big part of their play. They've got the individuals that can really shine as well. And they're sort of now building this real super team. They're kind of plucking the best from the best, becoming this team that becomes so difficult to play against, even just domestically. But I feel like they're one of the few sides that we've seen from Brazil that are now shaking off this thing about actually being able to compete with China. It's always been a thing where they've sort of been second best for the most part. It's always been coming into every tournament. You can sort of make the gamble and say, right, China should win, generally speaking. Doesn't matter who, right? But now we can, for the first time in a long time, quite confidently come into a tournament and say Brazil have a real contender. They have the individuals to shine, and they have the play style that can make China feel uncomfortable.
All right. Well, talking about making them comfortable, MG is going to be looking to do that this entire tournament.
MG is literally a human turret. Like, you place him on a site and give him a sniper rifle. He doesn't have to move too much. He's just going to be the wall on one side of the map. And MG, he can go toe-to-toe with the best, whether it is Du, whether it is Xiao Xiao. I mean, he can go up against anyone on a good day, honestly.
I want to actually ask you, up against anyone, MG Goken, I've heard there's kind of some relation between the two. Now, hold up. MG Goken, who wins that one?
Well, I will say with this, you're talking about kind of like potential GOAT versus potential future GOAT of the region, right? So that's where I think the big debate comes. I mean, Goken's just been around for so long, but he's always been the what if, right? With Goken, no trophies, no championships. And same for MG, sure, but it feels like maybe Goken's time's passed, right? But he's young. He's still got a real bright future ahead of him.
See, I'm new to the CROSSFIRE scene. I didn't know if I was going to hit a heart chord with that or not. Maybe I should back off a little bit, not get as spicy. Let's talk about King Zero Esports, the competitors, of course, going opposite of Alcatia. King Zero, a team that is representing China, but from what I'm hearing, rumblings potentially gifted their spots in this tournament.
In all honesty, I really want to say really nice things about KZ, but man, their spot is literally was just blessed because Baisha Gaming won ACL. And KZ, granted that they're a good team, they were the first seed in ACL actually, but then right after ACL they just crumbled apart in CNPL. Lost very early in playoffs, had not so good of a group stage showing, and I feel like they just eked through this fifth place spot, and honestly, they're just probably grateful to be here.
Well, let's talk about that because China is the best region when it comes to CROSSFIRE. So even if they eked through, right, even if they were blessed their spot, they still are part of the best region in the world.
For sure.
Yeah, you've got to be really just generally, I think, quite cautious when it comes to even the fifth best Chinese side. You do have to be a little bit careful because they play against the best week in, week out, and that makes a huge difference for them. So even though King Zero are the fifth best in the region, they might be better than the second best in other regions.
Well, here we go. It's going to be a best of three. The bans are in. What are we noticing, boys?
New Mexico out the way immediately. Ban Brazil, right? That is Brazil's home turf for every team, whether it's Liquid, whether it's your Navis, and of course, whether it's the boys or Alcatia, you get rid of New Mexico. It's such a region favorite here. The port pick's a little wild. And then they're going to go for the sub base on the flip side. Now, King Zero are one of the few sides who actually domestically play sub base. It's actually not really that popular of a map in China. Generally speaking, they actually lean away from it as a whole just because of kind of, in specifics, the guns they use in China, slightly different to what we have the setup here. Ankara is a decider, though. That worries me. That, for me, has been the map in which China have dominated on internationally.
Sure,
and it's a map in which, despite as a decider, you actually got to lean King Zero a little bit there just because of the reps they've got.
Yeah, well, we have two great teams, two wonderful regions, Brazil, China. Get loud for who you're supporting out there in the chat. They're going to need your energy. Our first official matchup to take place at the Esports World Cup of 2025. This is the first chance to become a champion for CROSSFIRE, and this is where it starts. Group A Match number 1. Who wants an easy route to playoffs? It won't be easy, but I mean, it's going to be easier than going down to the elimination bracket. Let's get it started for Group A, Alcatia versus King Zero Esports.
Nothing is granted. Everything is earned. This is the rule we live by at the Esports World Cup. The fight for the $2 million prize pool begins today in the S&B Arena, Adam.
It does. You give me goosebumps here. Butterflies in my tummy. And that's right, because we're getting ready for that first matchup here. Just taking a moment to embrace the calm before the storm, because it's about to go down right here. I reckon it's time we meet those teams, buddy.
I agree. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for the first team to join us on this stage for the first match. It's Alcatia. From Brazil to the world, a team forged in consistency. Champions of the CROSSFIRE Brazilian League, runners-up at the CFS Finals last year. They've been chasing glory ever since. Now, under the bright lights of the Esports World Cup, they begin their campaign to turn potential into history here in Riyadh.
And their opponents, King Zero Esports, robust, steady, and always ready to fight. They have the capacity to be giant killers, the reigning rebels of precision. Can they turn EWC from a championship into their coronation? All hail the Kings! As they take their seats and get themselves ready, folks, we get set for this first matchup here at EWC. It's over to our casters.
Welcome on in to game number 1 of the Esports World Cup Crossfire. King Zero and Alcatia. Laz and Elfish Guy here, of course, and we are looking forward to getting underway with EWC. Obviously, Laz, it's a big tournament. Bigger, obviously, than what we've had in previous years as far as the mid-season tournament is concerned. Obviously, had Nao on the desk there talking about things at the Summer Championship over the last couple of years in Vietnam, and now we're here in Riyadh, and yeah, bigger and better is the big takeaway for me.
It really is, yeah. And there's a lot of really good points the desk brought up and saying, this is the first time, this is about the first winner potentially of EWC. And this is a big achievement here for CROSSFIRE. And there's a lot of great teams across the world that have been able to get themselves at this given moment. But man, I feel like we got gifted with this one. This is a really good opening matchup. This is an interesting one with, China taking on Brazil, arguably, King Zero being a pretty dominant force. Are they still going to be dominant? We don't know yet.
Well, it's the classic, isn't it, right? We talk about China versus Brazil. Those have been the 2 top regions in the game over probably the last, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
I mean, definitely you can go back a little bit further and you can throw the West in when there was some top Western teams. You could throw the Philippines in when Pacific Magda was around still as well. But certainly in more recent times, it definitely has been dominated by China and Brazil. Now, this does feel like a little bit of a mismatch, even if regionally speaking, these are the top 2 regions. You do have the top team from the Brazilian region, which is Alcatia, of course, up against King Zero, who, as Sneaky put it, were maybe just a little bit lucky to even make it here to EWC. They were kind of gifted that extra slot courtesy of Baisha winning at ACL. And I think they'll obviously have a lot to do to kind of win some hearts and minds over here in Riyadh, because they're definitely not one of those favorites, King Zero. They are obviously from a strong region, yes, but as a team, we have yet to see them have a lot of success internationally.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because I guess the biggest thing for King Zero, I think everybody's putting a lot of eyes on them, because we're saying, look, online, we know they've been able to win a CFPL elite, season for themselves. They were able to do the reverse sweep. They were able to get themselves in a trophy that way. But when it came to an international experience or the LAN environment, they crumbled, right? I mean, they lost to, some of the Filipino teams and things like that. There was a big upset for them. So they really just did not perform themselves the way they should. And that's where I think the comment about, they got lucky and gifted this opportunity. This is a redemption moment. This is a moment for them to figure out, okay, look, we had a bit of a blip at one time. It wasn't the greatest. Now we're going to try to, be a whole new team, a whole new monster to see what we can do here. But Alcatia is definitely a team where, look, I put them as one of my favorites personally, because I think this team has a ton of potential. There's so much firepower behind this group. So, this is the bar burner we all wanted. And get this for the first.
I think we really saw the potential of this Alcancia team last year when they were Vasco, when they were playing at the CFS Grand Finals at the end of the year in December, and they did manage to take top 2. And look, frankly, that this was a team that actually could have won that tournament. Yeah, with how close that Grand Final went all the way to 5 maps, went to OT on map number 5.
Yeah.
You know, they were really barely a round or 2 away from being crowned world champions, and I think that's going to be their goal once again for this year. And obviously the sort of the menial task has been done in that they've managed to get through their domestic competition for Vasco or for Alcancia. They have higher expectations for themselves. So I think this is kind of the beginning of their year, really, if that makes sense, right? I know we're already in August. We're quite deep into the year as far as CROSSFIRE is concerned. Yeah. But we've done with the regional competition for the most part now, and now it's time for the international competition. And this will be the first test for Alcancia in that respect, internationally speaking, to see how are they going to be able to handle 2025 CROSSFIRE. Are they going to be able to do it comfortably against King Zero, which is probably a nice ramp into the year for them internationally speaking. You know, it's not like you're going up against one of the top teams in the world, one of the favorites. So I think expectations definitely very high for Alcancia. But then on the other side of the coin, King Zero, well, can they manage to do something impressive for their region as well and start to kick off EWC quite nicely for the Chinese CROSSFIRE teams?
Yeah, definitely. And I think the piece that I'm kind of looking at and putting a lot of focus on is for, Alcacia, the fact that they have played so much international competition, have been able to play, the distance, for last year's, major in the final, for a 2-3 record that they went against EP, which, that was a pretty amazing feat. The fact they got themselves second place. And then, like you said, I mean, the summer champs, that was a little bit different. But look, we could talk and ramble about it all we want, but we're finally going to be able to get this thing underway, which is going to be the first map of Port. And this is going to be the pick here for Alcacia to see what they've been able to do in the little bit of the off period and see if they got themselves some preparation.
Yeah, very interested to see how this one plays out. Obviously, picking into Port, always a bit of a scary prospect. It means you're typically going to be starting on that blacklist side, which, again, as we know, Port has generally been considered a little bit more GR-sided. Probably the most GR-sided map in the pool outside of maybe the previous Mexico, although that has changed up in more recent times. So there is some risk in picking into this one, though I will say in the more recent seasons of CFWL, at least for the West League, we've seen actually quite a bit more success happening on that blacklist side. Now, whether that's come from teams just getting better on the blacklist side, maybe some of the weapon changes as well, can't really put your finger on it necessarily, but I think there's definitely a lot to be said for Alcacia picking into Port here and coming in with a strong BL side. If they can do that, that's a real gauntlet that's going to be thrown down, not just for King Zero, but for all of the teams watching this game, knowing that they'll have to face Alcacia in the future.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because really, like, both these teams, like when you're kind of just talking about their, domestic leagues and like how well they play on this map, like it's actually dead even. Like we're talking Alcacia sitting at a 5-5 record. Right. We see that King Zero sitting themselves on a 4-4. And like, again, there's a lot of argument you can make in this, right? Because I think we all agree that, the CFPL is definitely the more fierce competition and high level play. But I mean, I can't take anything away here for Brazil. Like, I mean, Sneaky made a really good point. Like it is one of the best, second best region in the entire game. But things are getting underway. Now we're finally down to the 46 seconds remaining on this, and you can see that Alcacia is kind of finally getting themselves ready to go for the plan of attack. MG does find that first opening duel finally. So now King Zero shaking a little bit in the boots, and they got to make a little bit more of a heavy lifting here, Jordan, because they're already down a player.
Yeah, MG going to be an important factor here for Alcacia, the sniper for this roster. They're going to stand tall on the international stage. That entry attempt comes through, and VNC goes down quite early. Nice crossfire setup for King Zero, and they are just wiping the floor with that attempt from Alcacia, who will be disappointed with that round. It's not every day that you get an opening pick on a BL round, so you really want to be converting on those kinds of rounds. But, they don't really do anything too special in that one, do they, Laz? They get that opening pick, 40 seconds left on the clock, they just hit B, and kind of get wiped the floor with. They didn't really try to push and pull the rotates. They didn't really put too much pressure on King Zero in that respect. So good response from King Zero. First round on the board on the GR side.
Yeah, a little bit of a disappointment, though, but, for Alcacia. So they're going to try to, finally react a little bit better now. We're starting to see the kill feeds loading in their favor. So they finally put that little bit of frustration into work, and now they get themselves 3 players down, just leaving it down to 9U and now YF. This is now the last 2 remaining players here for King Zero, and they're already just bombarded here with smokes and utility. They're getting pushed back. They have nothing to work with. And look at all that HP that is just completely just gone away. And that's going to be a nice little bit of a kill. But Jordan, I mean, this is just feeling like you're really just shooting in a barrel. You're really just hoping to find something in this moment.
Yeah, much nicer round out from Al Qadsiya. You know, they get that pick and immediately they're sort of already out onto the site. There's the retake attempt here from the remaining couple of KZ members, but as you can imagine, it's not likely to be happening. YF very low, almost just playing for the KD at this point. He's not interested in going for the retake, so keeping that 2-0 scoreline alive. Knew that round was over and done with, but yeah, I think Al Qadsiya / Vasco, you know, if we're going to continue to talk historically speaking, have always been an interesting team in terms of the maps that they've liked to pick into. Nao was kind of highlighting a little bit on the desk there that they were a team that often liked to go towards Mexico.
Yeah.
And that was part of the reason why King Zero had banned that map away. And I think Port, to an extent, is the same kind of mentality. You know, it's not a map that most teams necessarily love to play. You know, when you think about the Crossfire map pool as a whole, you look at Ankara and Black Widow and Compound probably being like the more standard maps. You know, a lot of teams like to play sub-base as well. But Port's definitely out a little bit more on the extremities in the same way that Mexico always was, in the same way that maybe Eagle Eye is too. So I think, you know, having this in your map pool is a good one. You can pick into it quite comfortably, knowing that a lot of teams aren't super keen to go onto it. And it has that same mentality in that, you know, you're going to go, well, we're going to pick the map. We're going to play the weaker side and we're going to do well on that weaker side. And that already is going to set the tempo for the game. So I think that's the same mentality for Al Qadsiya as picking into something like a Mexico. And we're getting that already. I mean, a 1-1 scoreline to start things off here for Al Qadsiya is quite acceptable on the BL side. And King Zero will have a little bit of work to do. You know, you're typically looking for something, you know, maybe in the realms of a 7-2 half to start off on the GR side. So long way to go for King Zero. Maybe 6-3 you could get away with.
Yeah.
But 6-3, 7-2 is where you want to be hitting as the GR side. So doesn't take much for Al Qadsiya to get a favorable half out of this one.
Yeah, honestly, if they could be able to put themselves in, you know, that little bit of a buffer and then transition over to the GR side, that's just going to make them feel so much better, especially for this being their map pick. But now you can see they're getting themselves onto the catwalk. They're going to be able to get themselves dropped off on this. YF's just playing a little bit of the off angle again, allowing him to have that opportunity for that first shot onto the long, but also maybe even to get the flick of the wrist behind the player on the box. But they're waiting things out. They're really just, again, playing this very slow, very methodical. They don't want to go too antsy on this. They're really putting a lot of thought into this one. They don't want to overexert themselves. But again, we have to talk about the time. There's 30 seconds remaining. They have to get things underway. Now the flashes get thrown. Utility is just raining. But look at this shot. Beautifully done. King Zero being able to find themselves the first opening too. But is that going to be enough? And indeed it will. You can already see MG all the way in the back lines. There's nothing here. So now we're going to see King Zero once again putting up the barricade in a fantastic hold here for the GR side.
Yeah, Al Qadsiya, they were almost there in that round. You know, like they actually half pulled the rotate. You could see just as the execute was starting on the A side, a couple of the King Zero members were kind of rotating back through GR spawn. It was MG that was trying to throw the fake over towards B, but I don't think he really committed enough to it. You know, he threw a smoke, he threw maybe a flash, and then he started to work his way back over to A. It's not going to be enough to fool these teams at the top level of competition, right? You need to be doing a little bit more than that. So if they're going to try and fake them out, I think you at least need MG to actually walk out warehouse, maybe in an ideal world, find an opening pick, and that would really start to sell the fake, and then those rotates are going to commit. But those rotates really only committed for maybe like 1 second, half a second. They were like half thinking about leaving, and then immediately they recognized we go back over towards A because that's where the real hit is coming through. So a pretty heads-up play from King Zero, obviously not having too many issues on the stage so far, whereas it's a bit tougher. The going's a bit tougher here for Al Qadsiya. I think, you know, the first round where they got the opening pick courtesy of MG, weren't able to convert it. That's obviously a less than ideal moment for them. And then even this round here, right, like you see the ethos, you see what they're trying to do in the round, but it's just not quite hitting in the way that they'd like it to. Maybe, you know, going up against stronger level competition, like that might work in Brazil against the domestic competition. You know, a domestic team might over-rotate knowing that they're up against a team like Al Qadsiya. They give them that respect, whatever. But maybe you're not necessarily going to get that when you're playing at an event like the Esports World Cup, where you do have the best teams in the world. And again, granted, we're talking about King Zero as being the 5th best team in China based on the most recent run of, you know, CFPL results and how they qualified to this tournament and whatnot.
Exactly.
They're the 5th seed from China here at Esports World Cup, but that still puts them probably head and shoulders above a lot of the domestic competition that you're going to be facing. So some adaptations are going to be required, certainly from Feifei as obviously the in-game leader, but also from Alcacia, the rest of the roster, as they once again try to work their way into that international competition in 2025. And we talked about the context of how things played out in 2024. I think definitely a team to keep an eye on this year.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and honestly, the one thing I've kind of noticed so far, and this is when we get the, the clashes of the different regions, right? Like we were talking about this, Brazil versus China. I think we always see a lot of these, Chinese teams that do have an aggression. They like to play very, in your face and get aggressive. But we also see that once in a while from Brazil as well. I mean, they do typically like to play slow. They like to kind of wait things out. But if we talk about even just this game right now, we're only a few rounds in, but we see, Alcacia, like they're able to get that initial following round after they actually put a little bit of acceleration into it, right? They actually started to put a little bit more pressure. They won the round quite convincingly, but it's now when they're playing a bit too slow. That's what I'm kind of wondering if maybe it's just not the right game plan for this. So I do hope that, there will be a bit of a conversation with the coach to go, okay, look, like maybe we really do need to just kind of not like just hold W and, go frag, but like kind of in some sense, like try to find those opening duels. And that's what they were really successful about before.
Well, it's funny that you should mention that because there is a pocket strategy that Alcacia likes to run.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, we got some information coming through from the team themselves. And one of the strategies that they sort of highlighted was it's called X5, which I imagine is just like kill 5, like get rid of, delete 5 players. In Brazil, they call it X5 when they play without tactics and they just press W and kill everyone.
Well, there you go.
So
that's exactly it.
That's what round 2 was it not? Like it was like we got the opening pick in warehouse. We're gonna just send it into the B bomb site. We're just gonna kill everyone.
And that's what I loved. Like honestly, like because that we both were kind of like scratching our heads on the first initial round because MG was able to get the first shot with the sniper. We're like, okay, this is good. They're able to get that first opening duel. We thought that was going to be easy for them to get themselves in that B site, but then they kind of just played this very weird, slow peeking out of the house, and we were like, hey, what are you doing? And it just kind of, again, this overthinking. And we got to talk about nerves too, right? Like, I mean, these guys are all experienced, but I mean, again, this is some of the biggest stages of their lives. So this is still a lot of pressure for them. And like just getting yourself underway and just trying to get a little bit more comfortable, I think we are going to see a little bit of those nerves. But thankfully, we don't have to worry about the tech issue too much longer. We're back into this game. But King Zero, we're able to get that previous round very convincingly. So now we'll see if this little bit of a gap has allowed Alcacia some time to figure out their game plan a little bit better.
Yeah, certainly. You'd hope so. I mean, they probably weren't allowed to talk during that tech timeout, or that tech timeout, I should say, but would have given Feifei at least a little bit of time as the in-game leader to have a little bit of a think about where do I want to go with this next round? How do we want to approach this one? I mean, there has been a bit of a tendency so far from Alcacia to, like you say, play a little bit too slow in some instances. And now it looks like they're going to change that up. They're going to try and take a bit of space early on in the round. So working their way in towards middle, which is reasonably undefended by King Zero. I'd say it's a fairly standard setup, though, from King Zero. They do have a bit of a heavier stack over towards A, but not anything too out of this world. So we'll see how Alcacia is able to react to that, as VNC will make the drop unspotted by YF up on the site. But this is a pretty menacing-looking crossfire being established by King Zero.
Yeah, it really is. And even now, the fact that 9U is actually pushing through, look at that. That's so much info. Even again, just getting that one kill, that's a ton of info because now the rotates are going to come through. And just like you said, this crossfire is perfect right now. And XN, the fact that he's able to activate the rifle of the MG, it's just becoming a problem after a problem here for Alcacia. Ooh, hang on, though.
Not over yet, though. 2-on-2 action, very low, but unable to get back out, and he's disappointed by that. You could tell that he knew if he was able to get out, that round was on. But now that he's down, C4's been dropped on long. YF will be just jiggle peeking that line and keeping an eye on these things. MG, though, not a bad clutcher himself. He's known for it, and in the clutch here, again, to highlight something that was said on the Desneo, comparing MG to Goken as the GOAT and the GOAT-to-be of Brazilian sniping.
It's a bold statement.
It's a bold statement, certainly. I'm not sure that anyone's ever going to really live up to Goken personally, but MG does have that same kind of clutch capability as what we've seen from Goken in the past, or at least he tries to.
Yeah.
And this is an opportunity, but with 14 seconds, it's going to be too much to ask. That's a 3-1 lead for King Zero. So the tack timeout potentially coming through there as well. I mean, the pause came through. So I'm imagining this will be, it looks like a tech timeout again for Alcacia, but I mean, still a lot to talk about here. Obviously, again, just breaking down the setup there from King Zero. They had the perfect setup on the A bomb side, just to make sure that they had the defenses that were required when Alcacia hits that site. You see the 3 players there. I think typically you're probably only expecting 2, and that's why the player at the boxes is able to get himself such an easy double kill, right? Like when that hit comes through, VNC is the first player to go down. He's the guy that dropped. He spots 9U on the push. Then as he goes down, there's a sniper shot that comes through from the site. You say, okay, those are the 2 players that are defending the site. There'll be a rotator coming from mid and 2 over towards B. So they don't actually properly clear the site as they're trying to make their way forward there, Alcacia, and inevitably, that nice timing really comes through from that extra player on the bomb site, the unexpected player, and that's ultimately where that round kind of falls apart. MG gets a lot of space on the clutch, on the 2-on-1, but he doesn't get a kill, so he wasn't really anywhere close to actually closing that round out. And yeah, this is definitely a rough start for Alcacia, one of the teams that we had high expectations for in this tournament. And losing to King Zero could be a really big problem for them. I mean, this group, you do have Twisted Minds and Gaming Gladiators, so I think at least in the case of Gaming Gladiators, we probably don't have a huge amount of hope. Maybe even you could say the same for Twisted Minds, but these are 2 teams that could cause an upset here or there. So you have a bad game against King Zero, you're all of a sudden, if you drop to either a Gaming or a Twisted Minds, you may not make it out of this group.
Yeah, exactly. Did we all agree that when we talk about the 4 groups, like, did we all agree that Group C was like the group of death?
Group of death, yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. Like, I really, that one.
That's cooked. Yeah,
that is the most cooked group ever. I mean, you'd have Team Falcons, Baisha, EP, like, man, Inner Circle, for them getting an international debut, like, talk about a dark horse.
It's like Inner Circle's like the little fish in the big pond here,
oh,
right?
100%.
Like, you're just like, where am I?
Yeah.
How did I get here?
Yeah, a little bit of a Finding Nemo kind of situation, I think. Yeah, going into the wrong area, but we'll see. I mean, that's where maybe the big storyline will come through, but we'll wait until we get there. But I do agree with you. I think the one interesting thing about this group too is just kind of shifting over for the other game of Gaming Gladiators, taking on Twisted Minds. We both kind of, I think, are agreeing that both these teams are, I would say they're very evenly matched. I probably would give a little bit of a leg up onto Twisted Minds, but for Gaming Gladiators, they have Spoxy, arguably, in my opinion, probably one of the best snipers or top 5 snipers in the world. Like, he is very good. It's more about him just getting that international experience, him playing on the big stage, playing a little bit more like he does at home online. So we'll find out. But I mean, that will also be a very, very good matchup to see because, yeah, like you said, depending on how this one goes, I mean, you're not going to have an easy one to line up for the second game.
Yeah. That is for sure. Great info gathering from 9U in that round.
That was such a nice play for them.
We're back in. 3-1 is the scoreline, and let's see. Do something pretty quick about this half. If this starts to run away from them, King Zero will get that confidence and be a problem for Alcacia. So this time, certainly not making any secrets of where they're hanging out. That is a lot of util tossed in on the A side of the map, and Zero responding accordingly with a grenade of their own that's going to give Feifei a little bit of a tickle.
Yeah, the one thing I'm really happy about what they're doing here too for Alcacia is the fact that they're not just playing everybody on the catwalk anymore. This time they're actually a little bit more spread out. Again, just kind of spreading around the map and playing a bit more defaulty in the sense of just waiting to see if King Zero are going to try to overextend a little bit, because that's what happened previously. That's where 9U was able to find that one kill. Even though it's one kill, like we said, there was so much impact just because of information, and then they were able to get those rotates. So that's really important that Alcacia has kind of been able to go, you know what, okay, look, let's go right back down to the basics. Let's not overcomplicate this. Let's just wait things out. And now they get the opening duel. That's the most important thing. But right now, this is going to be important as well. Because right now for YSH, he's able to get that one kill, but my goodness, it's just a little bit of a back and forth, but the bomb is dropped here. This is not good here, Jordan, because now they got to fight.
Mid-fight is huge. Feifei getting that kill, it's allowed him to walk all the way in and around onto the B-bomb site. Like you said, though, getting the C4 is actually the priority one right now for Alcacia. This round has been thrown into a bit of a loop, fox among the henhouse, so to speak. It's another crucial duel or two going the way of King Zero. YF and Bin stepping up. Double for Bin, and it's just Feifei left alive. That's another really bad round to lose for Alcacia. They had so many advantages, so many opportunities, and they're not able to close them out. So King Zero looking fantastic. You've got, by the way, Harlan, who is a world champion in his own right, as the coach of this team. Won back in 2015 with HG Clan. That was actually the first Crossfire tournament that I ever worked on. So shout out Harlan one time for that. But he was in that HG Clan roster between 2011 and 2018. Really renowned roster in China, obviously. And so someone with a lot of experience. He's been around Crossfire for a very long time. So having him in this roster, which is, look, let's be real, a bit of a fresher face on the international stage, King Zero, I think is a really massive bonus for them to have that kind of experience coming through, and certainly seems like it's shining nicely. Now we've got the boost from Al-Qadsiya in mid this time around. MG looking for his opportunity, but can't quite see XN over the smoke. Does eventually get a bit of info, but ends up actually copying more than he gives. So overall, the opening favoring King Zero so far for round number 6.
Yeah, and the one thing we didn't really even get to talk a lot about too is, like for us in the CFWL, like we were talking a lot about the guns, right? We said that this was kind of, again, the new shift in the meta. We were kind of wondering how some of these teams were going to adapt a little bit to it. I mean, I think there's always a lot of argument about it. I think it's definitely created a lot more conversation with some players that are probably going to be a little bit more beneficial, like statistically with some of the guns that have been added back in, which makes a huge difference. But right now, I mean, it doesn't look like that's the case for Al-Qadsiya, but oh my goodness, that is beautiful from XN. Just goes for a big swing, able to find this double. And again, they just annihilate everything in their path. And Al-Qadsiya, they don't seem to have any sort of an answer. And it's just Feifei all by himself, just again, scratching his head in the big water going, what's going on, boys?
Yeah, I mean, this is starting to become a bit of a disaster for Al-Qadsiya. They were expected to be a really big contender at this tournament, and suffering at the hands of King Zero at the moment. Now, the one saving grace, of course, has got to be they are playing on the BL side, right? And the BL side is not expected to do phenomenally on this map, but a 5-1 deficit is starting to get a bit egregious.
This is really, really nerve-wracking now for them. Like they have these rounds have not even been close. Like I think we've had 2 rounds in a row now that are going to be essentially flawless unless XN, goes for the big swing. He just tries to go for information here, but I think for Al-Qadsiya, they're going to have to figure something out really quickly here. Like they've done nothing that's been impressive. They've just been getting swept the entire time. It's going to be one little bit of a gimme kill here, but they know exactly where it is. There's no time remaining. A 5-1, Jordan. This is very impressive from King Zero. I had a lot of being very skeptical about them just because of what we saw at ACL earlier on this year. But this is already looking like a new and improved King Zero. I'm all for it.
Yeah, most definitely. The thing is, though, it comes with the disappointment of Al-Qadsiya, and I think if I had to choose one, I probably would want Al-Qadsiya to be at their best.
Yeah.
Because they're a team that really felt like they could contest with the best and potentially be the best. And maybe that peak has already fallen. Maybe that opportunity is a one and done for this core of this roster. Who knows? We set up all these storylines around how they could come into 2025 and make amends for the second place finish in 2024 that would have felt so painful in the OT. But the way things are going at the moment, that's potentially a conversation for later on in the week. I think right now it's just get it together, boys. Bin here to try to defend again. Can't get anything done this time around. And so King Zero, a massive gap opened up on that B bomb side, is going to allow Al-Qadsiya back out. XN can only get himself one before falling. And this is the best opportunity for Al-Qadsiya to find themselves another round. Got to get that plant down. They are attempting to do so quickly. There'll be 3 players to retake from GR Spawn. King Zero not messing about at all. They're just running them down. It's a 1-for-2 though, and that is not at all what King Zero needs. YF to try to clutch out the 2-on-1. What a shot. How is he still alive? Hiding inside that smoke. There's no way. King Zero have just won that round. Al-Qadsiya are being put in the dirt, and King Zero are running away with map 1.
You've got to be kidding me. There's no way that he should have been able to find himself in that kind of a position to be able to get those kind of kills. Again, this is where we just kind of sit back and go, like, what is Al-Qadsiya doing? Like, this is, they had it in the bag. They had themselves a 3v1 post-plant. Everything was looking good, and they just thought, you know what? Who cares? We're going to be able to frag him out. What an amazing amount of shots and work right now from YF, just putting himself, sitting at a 10-0 nonetheless as well. My goodness, just what a way for Al-Qadsiya to be just getting deeper and deeper on the scoreline.
Yeah, that is just not a round that you can afford to lose as Al-Qadsiya. That is a mental breaker, and that could potentially lose them this entire series if they can't recover from it. And it doesn't look like they're recovering from it. This is heading in the direction of a 7-1, though there is at least a trade that does come back through from Silver. So 4-on-3, not impossible to win for Al-Qadsiya, but the deck is stacked against them at the moment.
You know, and the one thing we noticed as well is like for El Casilla, they were putting themselves in positions where they were able to find those opening duels. And even when they were, it still didn't even mean they were converting the rounds. And now we're seeing King Zero. They're the ones that are just finding the opening duels, and they're just mixing everything up. Like they've completely mixed the playbook. They've mixed everything up for El Casilla. They don't have any idea. Like they have nothing to work with. They don't know what the first ingredient is for making this recipe happen.
If you are El Casilla at this point, you are just hoping that King Zero have an absolutely shocking second half here.
Exactly.
They've got to be awful on the blacklist side, or they've got to completely throw their map on sub base, and maybe you go to Ankara and win that, because this is not looking salvageable at the moment for Al Qadsiya. Look, if they get the second and they start the second half well, maybe you can start to make a storyline there, but Al Qadsiya are just looking completely out of it at the moment.
This is really concerning, because this is definitely not the performance that we were expecting, and this is very lackluster from them. Like I was expecting a lot out of them. This is, again, the performance just like these rounds haven't even been close, Jordan. That's the thing that's, I think, really, really surprising. Like if this would be down to like 2v2s or the 1v1s, that's a whole other conversation. But like the fact that King Zero, with so much, confidence, they're able to win these rounds just tenfold. Like they've essentially had so many flawless rounds. Like I just, again, you got to give a lot of kudos for them, but also you kind of just sit back and go, like, what's going on here?
No, you're definitely right. I mean, the rounds that King Zero are winning have been clean, and the rounds that Al Qadsiya have almost won have been clutched out by King Zero, So you're either winning rounds comfortably as King Zero, or Al Qadsiya is kind of like losing the rounds that they're supposed to win. So it's a lose-lose for Al Qadsiya and a win-win for King Zero. Once again, they're going to try and shift their way towards B. You do have a bit of warehouse control and mid-con control for Al Qadsiya here. But it looks like King Zero are happy to let them have that for the moment. Just a quick flash into mid there from, I think it was YF, who's holding GR spawn. Oh, it was XN. A little bit of info being gathered by XN. You do have a big stack over on B, which, it's a read really from King Zero more than anything. They haven't got any info that would indicate that this should be a B hold. Now they're kind of wondering, okay, have we made the right decision? So they'll pop a little flash forward there for YSH to have a look into warehouse. He doesn't see anything, so now that rotation shifts its way back into middle. But again, King Zero with the read that this is going to be a B finish, and they are going to be proven correct.
Yeah, again, these opening duels for them, this has really been a nice little bit of a turning page for them. So now we're going to see El Qadsiya. They're finally going to try to accelerate into this. But look at that, man. They just run right into a blender. Nothing. Like, they find one kill. That's it.
Yeah, it's just such a great read again from King Zero, right? Like, they've had the stack on the correct bomb site multiple times in a row. Remember the round on A, where there was a player hiding behind the box that comes out late. In this instance, they have their two players, obviously, plus the one that initially died on that site as well, which makes it so much more difficult. And they already had kind of a pre-rotate already coming through for King Zero. So just perfect reads, basically, on this GR side, stacking the right side every time. 8 1/2. I mean, that is... It should be unsalvageable right here for Al Qadsiya. I mean, never say never, obviously. But coming back from an 8-1 deficit, even on the GR side of Port, I think is going to be a really tough ask.
Yeah, that is asking a ton out of them right now. But look, like you said, if they're able to get this first round, maybe get things moving around, a couple rounds, that night just allow them to kind of build things up. And then we're talking about a closer game. But again, this round is really going to be the telling point, because if they can't, then this just really puts King Zero on the map point already. That's a nice little bit of an opener here from King Zero. So now Feifei's already been dropped. Now Silva's trying to get aggressive on his own, but he goes by himself. There's nobody there to help him with reinforcements, and they're just falling apart one by one, putting this still for a 4-on-2 advantage right now for King Zero, and they are just completely getting themselves in a good position. But now, Al Qadsiya, what are they going to do with this? They're going for fights in the smoke.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that was what you want, actually, if you're Al Qadsiya. YSH giving the 1v1 over to VNC, but VNC's not hitting anything at the moment, man. You don't like to highlight a poor performance, but he's really, really struggling, and he is typically one of those players that is on the front foot for Al Qadsiya. He's the guy that's sort of like the enforcer. He's a more aggressive player, and if he's not getting it done, then that burden goes on to other players, and well, Action is one of those, and he now has to win a 1v3, which is going to be impossible. And we are now one round away from King Zero essentially sweeping Al Qadsiya on their map pick. It might as well at this point be a 10-0 the way things have been going, because this has just been an utterly dominant display.
Yeah, like Al Qadsiya, the only round they won was the second round in this game, and then everything's just been full speed ahead here for King Zero. So Yeah, I think the analyst desk is going to have a lot to talk about when we get to the end of this, because I mean, this map is definitely not what we were expecting. Finally, MG getting himself right back in a little bit of fighting form, finding that first opening duel. But again, he's sitting in a 3-8. Like, he's not putting himself sitting pretty with the scoreline, but that's what they need. We now need to see some activation out of him quickly.
Yeah, I think MG's a great point here. Obviously, being on the GR side of Port, it is typically a very sniper-centric map, so MG does need to activate, and if he can, that is the way back in here for Alcatzia, but it's going to have to be perfection now for them, as King Zero are going to try their hand at an A hit. Some util going over the top. It's not quite worked out for them. Action getting rolling in middle there. That one pretty routine for Alcatzia. I think more of a probing attempt really from King Zero. They know, look, we don't need to work too hard to finish this map off, so let's just throw, you know, some basically some dummy executes and see if we can get it done. You know, let's not try and give away too much on this BL side early on in the tournament. We'll just pop a couple of flashes over the top. If they're bad enough to lose to this round, great, we finish the map off. If they're not, okay, well, we've still got plenty left in the tank. So I don't think King Zero is too concerned about that one at all. That was a bit more of a default take than anything else. And they were down 4-5 in that round as well, so that made matters a little worse. So a second on the board for Alcatzia, but it's definitely not anything worth getting excited about just yet.
No, definitely not. I mean, like you said, it's them just kind of preserving the strats and them just kind of doing whatever with it. They have a lot of room that they can work with. But the one thing that's interesting too for Alcatzia is the fact that they're double snipering. So Silva's actually the one that's going to equip it with MG. So they're going to try to mix things up a little bit here for the GR side. The pause is already being called, so this is going to be interesting. I'm imagining maybe that was from King Zero potentially, maybe just to kind of clean things up a little bit. But this round's still going to be into effect. Round is still commencing, but ATK is trying to get a little bit aggro. But this is dangerous because he's trying to get some intel. But if YSH was actually going to commit to the swing, that could have been a free opening duel here for King Zero. Ooh,
XN spotted him.
Definitely spotted the top of his head.
So now that you know there's a forward hold, this is where the long players actually do come into play. Because if you can maybe pick the player up on the site, action is just completely dead. They're going to try and crunch him, and XN wins the duel anyway. So goes from bad to worse, really, for Alcatzia, as now it is just a solo hold on the site. Silva hanging on with that secondary sniper, the TRG in his hand. He's not going to be able to connect with that one. It has not been given many opportunities either. Util landing on his head. And 9U to finish it off, gets the second entry onto the bomb site as well. Feifei down, he goes for more, will be traded out by YSH, and I think that might be map one done and dusted. It is down to MG to try to clutch this one out 1v4, and it is not going to happen. A 10-2 for King Zero as they throw the gauntlet down. They slap the gauntlet in the face of Alcatzia and say, what about that one, lads?
Yeah, honestly, really stellar performance here for King Zero. There was a lot of question marks up. We were all talking about saying, like, look, are we going to see the same King Zero we saw earlier this year where they didn't do really well on the maps? No, it's a very different team. Revitalized. You can tell that everything looks a lot better and improved. So, man, oh man, whatever they did in the lab, I'm more than impressed right now, because that is a star performance. A 10-2, and the fact that all your players essentially were, you know, playing the full abilities, that's what you need. It wasn't just like a one-man or two-man carry. This was a full team effort that allowed them to get this map pick that was Alcazia's. Let's not forget that point.
Yeah, you certainly could not ask for a better start to the tournament here at EWC than what has been achieved by those 5 players right there. I mean, a 10-2 on your opponent's map pick, in theory, it should get easier from here. You know, you're moving into sub-base, that's your choice, you're feeling good. But then again, one thing that I would associate with Alcatzia is mental toughness, tenacity, right? They are the team that pushed Evolution Power all the way to 5 maps, all the way to the OT in the grand finals of CFS 2024. So let's not count them out just yet. They are definitely down, but they are not out. We'll find out if they can, you know, figure it out here in this, 10-minute break that they're going to get between maps. They've got a lot of talking that they need to do. You can see actually here, still having a chat at the PCs, and King Zero taking a step away. So the question is, Laz, will they be able to come back here in map 2, Alcatzia? Well, we'll find out when we come back for the second map.
Reach your impossible, Lenovo Legion.
Welcome back to Esports World Cup Crossfire as we are right now underway with our very first match. And Laz, I have to say, it hasn't really been much of a match so far.
No, it really wasn't. It was a good start performance here from King Zero. A 10-2 was the final scoreline, but boy, oh boy, yeah, 3-minute break. I don't know, Alcacia, like, is that going to be enough time for them to really figure things out? Because now we go into the map pick of Subbase, which is here for King Zero. So like you said a little bit earlier, when you win your opponent's map pick, that's always going to feel really good. But now Alcacia, they are a team known for the, going through the grit and going through the grind. But boy, oh boy, it is going to be a grind to get themselves up a map like this.
Yeah, certainly. I don't even know if Alcacia left the stage or if they were just
I don't think they did.
Talking the whole time.
I think they all sat there and were talking. And honestly, you know what? I don't even hate that either because I think
tension.
Honestly, like a little bit of a conversation and we're not having a break. You guys aren't, you guys got to dial in. Like that was, they were absent. They were shells of themselves. That was not even remotely close to a performance we've ever seen from them. Like nobody found activation. Like we saw MG getting these odd kills, but really nothing from him. VNC, like he didn't find himself anything with a rifle.
No.
It was just disappointing all around.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's brutal sometimes, right? Especially on these opening days of the tournament, or if you're playing the first game, something like that. You don't get necessarily a lot of time to acclimatize. I don't know exactly how long the players have been here, and I did have a couple of the Vietnamese teams actually on my flight into to Riyadh, so they would have arrived 2 days ago, which was the same as us, obviously, but, maybe the Brazilian guys came a little bit later. You yourself were the same evening that I arrived at 8 a.m., you arrived at more or less like 8 p.m. So that gives you 12 less hours, obviously, to acclimatize. And, you're straight into the games. Basically, everyone's still kind of like trying to zone and whatnot. That's obviously not necessarily an excuse, but
it does play a factor.
It can play a factor. And to be fair, can you use it as an excuse when the team coming from China also is suffering 7-8 hour time difference? It's not unreasonable to expect them to struggle as well, but they come out and absolutely dominate. So don't know what's going on for Alcacia here, but certainly hasn't been the start that we had hoped, and not the one that they had hoped either. But that does not mean that it is over and done just yet. A Subbase does await, and we have seen this team playing a bit of Subbase in the past as well, so hopefully they'll have a thing or two for us ready to go. Otherwise, this is going to be quite a quick first match.
Yeah, this could be a really, really quick one. But again, both these teams, respectively, in their domestic leagues, they have very strong records. Even for a team like Alcacia, they're sitting themselves at a 16-3, win to loss ratio. And, for a team like King Zero, 15-9, which is, again, still a very strong performance. But again, we kind of compare the regions a little bit. King Zero is also playing some of the best teams in the world, AGs, the Baishas of the world, you name it, EP, the list goes on. So the competition definitely is more of an advantage for them. So I think it's interesting that they did go for this pick. I mean, they've proven that they have played well on it, but again, we're gonna have to see if that little bit of a break allowed Alcacia to get themselves back into hitting shots and getting the motor running, so to speak.
Yeah, that motor is going to have to get running as we are about to get underway onto sub-base. And it is not traditionally a map that is super associated with the Chinese teams. But again, King Zero picking into it. So you do have to give them the benefit of the doubt for this one. I mean, at this stage, I have to predict a 2-0, Laz. I feel like there's no argument really against it.
Yeah, no, honestly, I don't even blame you for that because I just think the way we saw Alcacia playing, I don't know if maybe today is just very much an off day, like you said. So I definitely think there's a huge conversation here for the 2-0. Would I love to see it go all the way? Absolutely. But even then, it'd be on Kara. That'd be the third decider, which is even more madness to think about as well.
Oh, and this is aggressive already from King Zero. You can see them really trying to set the pace, the tempo for the map. Nice push down into Wood from 9U. Does actually get caught out by Feifei, but the intention is there at least for King Zero to continue to dictate how this game plays out.
Yeah, no, that is the one thing that's interesting because now King Zero, again, like you said, getting a little bit more aggro. I think they're feeling it, right? That confidence, they're starting to feel pretty good about getting a 10-2 victory on the first map. So maybe a little bit of overconfidence, but it's also just kind of seeing how Alcacia is going to be, formulating their game plan. I think they were just trying to experiment, and I don't even hate this. So, but the point I brought in the first map going into this one too is the fact that even though Alcacia was still getting those first opening duels, it didn't even mean they won the round. It was actually not even a benefit for them at all. It actually would just be a 5-on-4, advantage for them, and then they would just get clobbered anywhere they went.
Big nade stack over into lockers.
Perfect stack once again too. Like, look, 3 players are just committed to this B side. Like they've done some homework.
That is true.
I love it.
It leaves quite a lot on the shoulders of XN because he does have to spot in through the double doors just to make sure no one's actually crossing into A. But he's also got to be aware of the vent drop into his proximity as well. But a slower approach from Alcacia. And again, if you take into account how Port played out, these slower rounds typically didn't work for them. And again, as mentioned, big stack over on this B-bomb site. And guess where Alcacia are headed? YF hits the first shot with the TRG. He spots an extra couple of players on his exit as well. And so King Zero not going to be moving any bodies off of this site. Apart from those of Alcacia, they are just sending them packing at the moment. Another great hole from King Zero. And Alcacia, once again, they just walk into the trap.
Yeah, and the thing is like they're not even trading. Like there's not throwing bodies into the situation. Like they're just kind of going one by one.
Yep.
They're kind of just going for these really awkward encounters, and they're just allowing King Zero to just kind of go the 1-2-3 combination and just getting themselves in a huge amount of effort here for the round. So Alcacia, I don't know. Like again, this little bit of a new game plan is not really working out. Look at even that. 3 kills within 10-15 seconds of the round. They got nothing. So this is not looking good at all. Some decent shots now, a little bit more coming out of the riflers, but they're going to need a lot more than that.
They don't have the C4 though. They have the side, but they don't have the C4. And King Zero is about to find it. 9U is about to find the C4. He's got the C4. Oh, he's lost both of his teammates. What's going on? Action. He's popping off. Okay, there's some life here for Alcacia. I got to make sure they win this round. They cannot afford to lose the 2v1 against 9U. They know that he's got the bomb. He smoked it off. They know that he's got the bomb, but they've got plenty of time to find it. This round is mad. I don't even know.
Yeah, this is awkward because 9U is still in a position where he easily could win this because he doesn't have that many angles he has to clear. Look at him now. He's actually going to kind of overextend on this. He's not going to just kind of tuck away. Good. This is huge because now if he gets this 1 kill, he's turned this into a 1v1. So, they're going to group up together. This is good.
Yeah, if he would have got his timing right, he might have been able to wrap in behind them, but it's still a possibility.
Wow, he's going for a gamble here.
He's going for a big wrap all the way into the A site. I mean, the problem is, and this is obviously something that is inherent to CROSSFIRE with the round timer. You have so many options with a round timer that is that long, right? Like we saw 7 players dead in 30, 40 seconds in the round. Minute 44 left when it was 2v1. So with 1 minute and 44, Alcacia could probably run around the map like 4 times. So they at that point they could be literally anywhere. And 9U, he's got no idea. He's got absolutely no idea where these guys are. He just has to gamble and hope that they come to his site or to his position at any given moment. And in this instance, he's gambled incorrectly, so he's going to have to retake the site 2v1, and that severely diminishes his chances now of winning this round. Time ticking away. Going to try and make his way in here from jail. Has spotted out action, but doesn't know exactly where VNC is. And Action's playing it nicely. Very, very passive. 9U not going to clear the rafters. And so that will be the first round on the board for Alcazia on map 2. Probably shouldn't have gone to them given how things started there, but at least it's a sigh of relief, you know, that they can pull that one off. It was, I think, a 5v2, so you'll take that.
It's all down to Action, too. He was able to find himself, if I'm not even mistaken, I'm pretty sure he was the one that got the quad kill that round. And single-handedly just put that, you know, into favor for them. So really good work from him. That was somebody that we were kind of highlighting a little bit in the beginning of this, and, you know, the desk was just briefly talking about it. It's like, look, like he's one of those guys that can put up some decent numbers, but he was absent on the first, finally get a little bit more. But look at, again, the GR side. Like, they're just kind of pushing through radio. They're getting themselves tons of information. They're just trying to push these guys back, and they are just sitting back, waiting things out just a little bit. They're playing very scared right now. Like, they know, like, these deep smokes, like, now there's a lot of question marks. They don't know what to expect out of this, and it's all just a ruse because King Zero, they make it seem like they're playing aggro, but now they're just playing a turtle setup once again.
Yep. I mean, in saying that, it's not the worst thing for Alcazia here. They haven't used really any of their util at all, only Silver throwing a nade. And again, like I said, you have so much time in Crossfire that you can afford to just sort of give space for over a minute, wait for those smokes to dissipate, and then start to take that control, which is exactly what Alcazia are doing now. They have Machine Room. Bit of presence in toward lockers as well from them. They're going to rotate their way back in towards middle and have a bit of a think about where to go. King Zero, for their own right, have not moved.
Not ever since they did that, you know, deep, you know, a little bit of smokes and things like that. Like, really, they've just kind of been turtling up this whole time. So it's that, like I said, Alcazia now, with knowing how, you know, aggressive they were, now they're being very cautious. Like, okay, where could they be? Are they going to play this cheeky little bit of an aggro aggression? We don't know. And that's why you're kind of seeing them again clearing every single corner, because they're so worried about what's going to happen here. Now the execute's coming through. This is now where they're going to try to make something happen. Flashes galore. Now the defense, can they be able to react to it? But YSH, he can only find that one kill. Really nice execution here from Alcazia. The fact they can get this bomb down, a 4-on-2, surely not, Jordan, that we see them throw something away this time, because YF, he is alive, but is short-lived.
Yeah, much, much better from Alcazia. The flashes were great. You could see the players on the site were really stuck in a bit of a spot of bother. YSH just having to tuck himself into the corner, waiting for that flash to dissipate. And by the time he was really ready to fight, he'd already lost one or two of his teammates. YF without really much of a chance. And maybe we can start to get rolling here in map 2, Alcazia. Given a little bit of a reprieve winning the previous round, right? They should not have been able to pull off a 5v2. That seems to have given them a bit of a second wind. Missed grenade will keep Feifei alive.
They know he's there.
They do know, but they can't seem to dislodge him.
Get out, though. They have this good reposition.
Yep, he's out.
Not bad at all. Actually, 9U in this position is strong, too, because, again, Alcazia, they'd have to clear it, and assuming this, but they finally get themselves that opener, so Action's going to be able to get something done here. Take down XN. That's a nice little bit of a pickup.
Was that in the vent? Was he just trying to get in the vent?
I think so.
I think he must have been, right?
Yeah, it looks like from the angle.
So, you know, again, an aggressive maneuver from King Zero, if that's the case. They're definitely not trying to shy away from these engagements. And another B stack. Some concern, perhaps, on the behalf of King Zero as that pause does come through at the end of this round. Imagine it'll be an attack timeout from King Zero, which they might like to take back if YSH can do that. A nice double in lockers, and all of a sudden this round falls apart for Alcazia. Re-aggression from Bin. He catches Feifei. Now we're down into a 3-on-2. There is still problems all over the map. Silva, a crucial duel to win, but he might get caught. Bin is on the way forward. He's been spotted out by MG. A shot is missed, but the second connected. And Silva and MG now in a 2-on-1 against YF, and they might just struggle their way through another round here, Alcazia.
Yeah, a little bit of a deja vu, though, right? I mean, this is where YF was able to get himself that 1-on-3. So maybe he can have himself another big moment like this. But again, Silva critically low on the HP. MG's already lost about half his HP already. But they got themselves together. They got themselves the bomb this time. They're not fighting for that C4, which has kind of been a lot of a nuisance for them so far in this best of threes but not the case here. They're actually going to commit towards the safe side. But look, YF is there. He's got himself in the perfect position.
Yep.
He might be able to find this first opening duel. Oh, no, a shot missed. Oh, not like
Time's
this.
a factor. Time is definitely a factor in the grenade. It's not quite going to catch Silver, but it will go the other way. Oh, if he would have hit that first shot and had the grenade in hand, he'd won that round because you would not be able to plant that bomb.
That
but
turned everything.
Alcazia are just getting their way through a lot of these rounds. Attack pause. Coming through.
Yeah, nice little bit of utility, but I'm liking, again, this, a little bit of a timeout we saw from Alcazia. They're looking a lot better. They're starting to play more as a team. Even the fact that the previous round we saw that MG, even him missing that first shot, in radio, he's able to kind of get a little bit of revenge back and then putting themselves in a 2-on-1 advantage against YF. Not bad, right? So there's good things that we're seeing from them. It's starting to look like they're on a relatively similar page right now, but let's not make it, it's still plenty of game left to go through, though.
Yep. Just for anyone wondering, again, confirmation that's a tactical pause. Tac pauses in Crossfire typically a minute and a half. You get 1 minute and a half tac pause per map. Which is a little bit longer, I think, than most people would be used to coming from other titles.
Yeah, a lot of conversation, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of time. Definitely different than what we've seen, but it really does, create a lot of good conversation about, like, how much can change, like, from the tac timeouts. And given a minute and 30 is a lot you can talk about, and even just kind of, have a little bit of a mental reset. Like, even right now for King Zero, like, this is a good opportunity where they can just kind of, reevaluate their game plan, considering things are not quite working, but they're making these rounds close. Like, it's, again, not the same situation on the first map where they were winning every single round flawlessly. Like, now this is becoming competitive. This is kind of what we were thinking should have been on the first map. No doubt.
Yeah, I think that's probably the mentality as well coming through here for Alcazia. It's like, look, let's just keep on doing what we're doing. A lot of these rounds are close, but we are starting to pull away. Granted, it is on the blacklist side of subbase, which is expected to be favored. So just to set those expectations again in a similar way to Port, we'd be looking at, I think, maybe a 6-3, 5-4 lead for the BL side on this map. So Alcazia doing a pretty good job of upholding their end of the bargain. It'll be a little scary if King Zero can put, a couple of rounds quickly together right here off of the back of that tac pause. Once again, that'll start to put some pressure back on Alcazia.
Yeah, a lot more respect for this round here, too. You can even see that King Zero, again, playing a very passive setup. They're not going to throw any deep nades. They're not going to try to play any mind games. They're playing a little bit more aggro in some retrospect in lockers.
Yeah,
nice
that's
little bit of a double
That's a very forward hold. I like it. The high-low setup is always going to be a tough one to break.
It should be almost guaranteed you get the instant trade.
At least
right?
one. Yeah.
At least one. So that's the nice little thing about a setup like that.
Trouble is, it doesn't look like Alcazia are going to head in that direction, at least not right now. Action has found himself another opener as King Zero send a player forward. YSH just going hunting for a bit of information there into Machine Room, and that has been a pretty reoccurring trend. Alcazia here have been able to get a lot of opening picks and close out these 5-on-4s, which they were unable to do on Port.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be 9U, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he's going to be the sole anchor on this here for the A site, if that's where they decide to go. But you can still see they're in Woodroom. They're kind of making their thoughts, kind of figuring out what they want to do. They're actually going to slip away through this. So now, like I said, he might not be ready for this. He's got himself that nade, but
I think they know.
He's got himself a good reposition here.
They know, or at least they have a suspicion that they've lost that control. You can see the retake on the stairs side, but problems there as well, as MG is just watching for it, and XN gets found out as well. So King Zero just getting themselves into all sorts of trouble in that round. Attack timeout has not worked out for them. King Zero needs something big to get them back into this map. They are really looking, I guess, kind of like what Alcazia did on map 1. They're just kind of all over the place, not really having much success at all. A couple of clutches going in the opposite direction, and seems like King Zero have just completely deflated.
Yeah, this is the Alcazia that we were kind of expecting to see, right? Like, putting a lot more better decision making, better connections with the shots. This is exactly where we're starting to get like, and now everybody is contributing almost equally. Like now we're seeing action. He's starting to get himself playing a lot better than what we saw before. But it's kind of interesting because King Zero, again, they had themselves a decent start, and then it just kind of feels like you said, gotten a little bit flat on it. So the fact that we're seeing a 4-1 score is not what I was expecting on this. Like I was even kind of, in the mindset of this could be a 2-0, no doubt, but I'm starting to second guess this one a little bit here, Jordan.
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. Look, again, we'll just have to wait and see until we get King Zero on their BL side, because that will be the real tell. But you do have to give yourself a little bit of a base, a stable base to work off of with this first half. So at this stage, King Zero kind of just have to hope for 3, I guess. You get a 2-2 split for the last sort of 4 rounds of the half here. 6-3 scoreline. I think King Zero could be happy enough with that. But the fortunes have definitely shifted away from them. They were even earlier on in the half, nice stacks again on the right side of the map. That kind of thing here. You can see it's a little bit more of a default sort of spread. They're not reading the game in the same way maybe that they were earlier. The confidence is rattled a little bit. Katsia finding a little bit of an easier time working through the map as well.
Yeah, and they really haven't played that aggro too, right? Like, I mean, this is like what you said, like it feels like they're kind of just going right back to a basic approach on this. Like they're playing such a hard defense right now. So this makes me wonder a lot what's going on in the comms here for King Zero. Like, are they a little bit rattled right now? Or are they, kind of just all over the place? Like, is the comms even really that clear? Because look at how well that we're seeing Alcazia. They were able to get this real estate again for free. And now they're actually going to swamp right through this. It's just easy, a little bit of a 1-2 combination. They get themselves this bomb down. Now we're talking about a retake.
I don't think it's going to happen. Not the way that King Zero are playing at the moment. It's looking pretty rough for them on this GR side. We'll talk in a minute about what they can do to change that, but see how this retake goes first. They need a little bit of magic, and I don't know that they're getting it. Bin down to below half HP. He'll be an easy one to finish off, and that's, again, another easy one for Alcazia. So I would like to see King Zero maybe change things up a little bit, try to take some of that map control early on in the round, right? They've been playing very passive on their sides, making good reads on the GR side from port into the early stages of sub-base, but that's not working anymore, right? And they are losing a lot of opening duels. I think try some aggression somewhere, send 2 or 3 players forward, see if you can find an early fight, trade down effectively, throw a bit of chaos into the round, rather than allowing it to play out default. Because, well, as we've seen, if it plays out default, Alcazia are winning those. But again, standard setup from King Zero. And they're just going to allow Alcazia to walk in and take wood control.
Yeah, and I'm kind of wondering why they're not actually trying to go for something a little bit more, a little bit more risky or a little bit more ballsy, just because, I mean, King Zero, like, right now you're down by 4. Like, at this point, you need to do something different. You can't just play the same setup because it's clearly not working. So for them, I would have liked to see them do something a little bit more adventurous, like fighting for wood control, or maybe even just trying to push through, radio. Just trying something at all just to, again, put Alcazia back in the position of them guessing, because right now it feels like we really just turned a whole new tide on this, because King Zero, they're just giving a ton of respect, and I don't even know why, considering they won the first map with a 10-2. They were able to get the first initialing round. Like, I just felt like they were in the best position in the world, and all of a sudden they're kind of letting this one slip right beneath their fingers.
Well, patience a virtue in this instance for both teams. At the very least, as far as King Zero are concerned, they can say, we're not in a 4-on-5 right now, which has been the case for a lot of these rounds on the GR side. So that will help them as they try to hold on to what I assume will be the A-bomb side here. See where Alcazia end up going. They could still divert through to B, but it is going to be towards A that they're going to head. XN and Bin able to find a crossfire up there in control room. This is going better for King Zero. I mean, the difference that it makes to have that extra player on the defense when the execute is coming through has been shown. Now, they just have to close out that 2-on-5, which was a bit of a trouble earlier on in the half, and it could be again. MG down alone now is action. 1v3 with 12 seconds, I think. Probably impossible, but if he would have killed YSH there, it was doable.
Look at this free plant, though. That might give him a little bit more time to work with here.
Just got to swing him together. There it is. Nainu finishes it off. So a second round for King Zero. The half's not yet done, Laz. If King Zero can put together another 2 quick rounds right here, all of a sudden, the story changes completely.
It really does. Yeah, that's a really, really good point you bring up, because really, if they can be able to find themselves these last 2, making it a 5-4, I mean, that's going to be a really good scoreline considering how this game has been going. Like, it just feels like El Kazia has been the one that's been in the driver's seat, at least for King Zero. That would allow them to get themselves in a better position here for the offense going into the BL side. So we'll wait and see, getting closer and closer to the end point of this first half. But, you know, if El Kazia could be able to get themselves even a split of a 1-1 or, you know, a best case 2, like that would be magnificent just for them to get themselves a lot more of a jump. But we'll wait and find out. King Zero, once again, kind of playing the 2 and B very passively, just leaving Nainu by himself here anchoring. So right back to the same setup. But this time we're noticing that King Zero, they're putting a little bit more of attention towards Widor. They realize that, you know, El Kazia has been able to get themselves slipped through those lines. So it's good that they've figured something out, but they're going to have to do more than that, though.
Well, Al Qadsiya typically were one of the teams that played a little bit of a slower style back when they were Vasco. If you can remember going back to CFS last year and, you know, Summer Champs as well, typically brought a little bit more of a methodical approach, let's say.
Yep.
And that is still reminiscent here at EWC. YF, though,
beautiful shot.
He is happy to wait patiently. He gets his prey. VNC down early. And this is where a third round could start to come into the conversation for King Zero. And at that point, it's anybody's game. Al Qadsiya are going to move their way over towards A. 4-1 split from them. Going to leave someone to have a little bit of a fake over towards lockers, but looks like King Zero have got the forces over towards A that they need. MG, an important opening pick. That is huge from them. And now the rotate is going to start scrambling over for King Zero. They need to clear out Silver, which they've been able to do, but it's a 1-for-1, so a 3-on-3 for the retake, and you've still got action on the other side of the map, keeping YSH busy.
Yeah, this is important now. But again, for, you know, someone like, I think that's Action, he's going to have to get himself a little bit closer to his teammates. He doesn't want to play too far away. So now he's finally getting himself back into a little bit more of a fighting conversation here. In this position, if he can get himself dropped into radio, oh, this could be perfect. They might not expect this. YF was kind of, you know, again, a little bit of a spidey sense. Oh, he's got a full read on it, but this is all about timing. This could be everything. The timer's already halfway through, well over that. So now King Zero, they have to get moving. They can't wait any longer, and they think this is going to be it. And look at that. It's a free, easy kill. YSH, he's just going to get himself a little consolation prize, but that is it. And El Qadsiya, they're going to be able to get themselves a 6th round on the board.
Yeah, I'm not sure why King Zero takes so long there to try the retake. I think they just get themselves into a bit of a tangle, you know, trying to wrap that extra player around to the stairs position. You kind of just had to go at a certain point, you know, and well played by Al Qadsiya, has to be said. Very patient in that post plant. So final round of the half will be a really big difference maker. A third round for King Zero, it feels like it's going to be doable. With only 2, that's a tough ask to come back from. So a lot resting on the shoulders of this round for King Zero especially.
Yeah, they desperately need this. Like, I mean, if we see a 7th round game here for El Qadsiya, that's just going to be tragic right now for King Zero fans. Like, this just, again, a map where I was thinking that this was a good position for them being on the GR side. I thought surely this was going to be good enough for them. Not looking like the case. It's a little bit of a turn of events that we weren't even expecting. I mean, technically this, you know, King Zero team is better on their GR side by, you know, 54%, but we're seeing Bin finally getting himself a little bit of action here with the AK, gets that first duel, but again, we need a little bit more than that. Somebody else has to be able to find another kill to put themselves in that nice man advantage here.
I mean, remember, this is more or less exactly how the last round started. It was a sniper kill rather than a rifle kill, but it was on that same line. It was 5-on-4, and then Al Qadsiya were able to still find themselves a way back into the round. This time they're going to take a different approach. They're going to work their way into lockers. It's been smoked off, so YF can't see anything.
Just over a minute remaining, so MG getting ready for the lineup here. Actually back out of this? Yeah, he is. Oh, this is good. Because they're going to actually mix up the playbook a little bit. Now they're going to regroup together. XN. Oh, actually, it was actually Bin that's able to get. I was going to say, man, XN, he looked locked in right there.
Yeah, XN also spotting Silver out in the vent, so no funny business this time around. And it's just on 9U to ensure that he does not go down for free this time. He died to MG in that position last round, and that lost the round for King Zero. This time, flashes around the corner. Again, not going to put MG off of his line, and now it's XN's job to try to just anchor this site, but the kills are coming through from Alcadzia. This is illegal.
What?
King Zero, you cannot be losing a round like this. They've got those two players back up into control room action, trying to cross him onto the site, but the frags are coming through for Alcadzia, and YSH falls as well. Another great recovery from the Brazilian squad, and King Zero, I mean, gone are the days of map 1 where it felt like they were going to sweep this series. We feel like we're going the distance now.
Yeah, it really feels like it. But again, like, you know, even just highlighting a player like, you know, Action or, you know, AT or AKT, right? I mean, like, that's somebody that's putting up some big numbers right now, double digits, put himself at a, what was he, essentially 14-4.
Yeah.
So he was somebody that was not able to find anything, and now he's starting to put up multi-kill after multi-kill. Now we get to see King Zero finally getting themselves a little bit more activation.
Ooh, yeah.
Look at how easily they do this. All 5 players still alive. They take everybody in their path, and they finally get that opening round back in their favor.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to wonder where was that in the second half, or in the first half, right? Like, the talent is clearly there. The ability is on our screens, but I don't know. It just didn't seem to work on the GR side. Got into a bit of a fuddle. That's kind of what I'm saying, though. Like, the fortunes can change quite dramatically, but you're basically asking for a near flawless second half here from King Zero when you've lost the first half 7-2. If you go down 6-3 or 5-4, like, you've got a lot of room to work, but you're going to need to see that round almost every round from King Zero here, and that is a tough ask. Triple sniper setup from Alcadzia, by the way, so they are really playing for those picks. King Zero going to try to work against it by bringing a faster playstyle. They do flash Silver off the line. He can't see anything, but VNC for the triple was completely disregarded by King Zero. And, well, first round looked fantastic. Second, not so much.
Yeah, and again, we were giving a lot of criticism for, you know, a player like VNC. I was like, look, he was doing nothing on the first map, and look at that. Even this right there, he puts himself in a quad kill. And now he's right back on the board, and they get themselves 8 getting onto sub-base right now. And this just might be the tale of both these teams maybe taking their opponent's map pick away and then taking it all the way to Ankara, which I didn't even have that on my bingo card. Not even close to that in this map.
No, not after map 1. I could see a third map between these two teams, like before the series,
absolutely.
if that makes sense. But after map 1, certainly didn't expect this.
Just the way it's been going, I didn't think it was going to be that kind of a case, right? I thought maybe they'll win their respective map picks and then we'll go to the distance. But boy, oh boy, it made things very interesting to start this day off. Let's not forget. So this is day 1 already. So, and I mean, the fact that we're going to get matched, game 1, day 1, everything. Yeah, so might even get ourselves a 3-mapper to get things going. I don't even hate it. That's great.
Well, that would be very much in line with what we've seen over the last 18 months of CROSSFIRE. I've talked about it quite a lot when we've been, doing analyst desk segments and stuff like that, that there's a certain level of parity now that comes through with CROSSFIRE internationally that we never really used to see. I think in the, let's say, pre-COVID era of CROSSFIRE, it was very much dominated by the top teams, and you'd constantly have really, really quick matches, easy wins, these kinds of things. But it feels like even the weaker teams, quote-unquote weaker teams, have kind of like caught up. And there is a sense that we really do get a lot of competitive series now. Maybe we're getting another one here. I mean, this is seed 5 versus a seed 1. And it's, you could still go either way.
Ooh, this is a good reposition. They might not expect him to be here. They are throwing about a bunch of utility to clear him out, but if he wants to recommit to it, that actually could be detrimental here for King Zero. But actually, they're just going to fall back. They're going to retreat this plan, reconvene, gather new thoughts. They're just deciding, look, this isn't the right idea. They're now going to group up back into Wood Room. They might even try to test here for VNC once again. I don't know why you want to, because considering he was the one that put up the quad kill, but that's going to be the plan. That's what they want to go for. They're going to just try to send this in with 35 seconds remaining. He's not going to play the same spot this time. He's going to play behind Missile. He's going to try to play that position where at least he can find a kill, maybe burn some time, allow his teammates to get to rotate through. But they are just trying to swarm him, and they do. But now Silva, thankfully, is here for reinforcement. It's been only the one kill, but Feifei! That's not bad at all. He's able to find this double, and now the HP is getting low.
Yeah, that was pretty bad from 9U. Bit of a whiff. And that has given Alcacia the chance back in this round. Feifei needed to die. He needed to go down faster.
Well, they're getting loud. They're
unable to find that entry that they need there. And this is, yeah, it's definitely looking like map 3 on the cards right now.